Welcome to the Corporate Gossip Podcast, a very special announcement. I think one of the biggest changes we've ever made on the podcast. Adam, why don't you get us started and talk about what we're doing here.
So we are going to bring in Robby Slowick to completely replace me in all facets of life.
What an abrupt announcement.
Robby will be replacing me in all facets, including the podcast. He'll be moving in with my wife. He will be taking over my job. He will be entering my position in the nuclear family. So congratulations, Robby.
Thank you. I do have one quick question. What is data analytics?
Yes, we can go through that in the onboarding process later on.
Wonderful.
No, but we do have a new host. Adam's been on this journey with me on this podcast since the beginning. And truly, I mean, at the time, there was nobody else that I even knew who would want to do this with me. And, you know, every week doing the research, showing up, despite the fact that Adam has a full-time job, which he's unfortunately for me, doing really good at and keeps getting more responsibility at his job. And a couple of months, maybe like, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago, we had this conversation where, you know, I asked, I was like, are you feeling tapped out? Because of course, Adam has a wedding coming up and there's just a lot going on.
Yeah. So for me, when Rebecca and I started, like she said, I looked at this as I was, you know, filling the seat temporarily. And that was, you know, 4 years ago. And, you know, the podcast has slowly grown and gotten a nice little following. And it's kind of led us to a position where we can pivot kind of quickly and make this something a little different in the hopes that it grows more. So I was feeling a little burnt out with things that are going on in work and things that are going on in my personal life. And it was a really good opportunity for Robby to step in.
Yeah. And so Robby had been in the back of my mind for a while as somebody who'd be perfect for this podcast because he's got a background. He was a writer on Jon Stewart's The Problem and is just like smart and funny. And like we have a good rapport. We've been friends for many years now. So with that, let me officially introduce Robby to everybody out there on the main feed.
Hello, everybody out there on the main feed. It's very hard to introduce yourself after someone just introduced you as smart and funny. You feel like you have a lot to live up to. But I'm so happy to be here. This is our first episode. We did one for the Patreon already, which was wonderful. That one came out, and it was so nice to meet the Patreon people. Such a nice response. Very, very protective over their host, Becca. They were very like, who are you? But okay, we'll accept you for now. They were really lovely. It was a nice introduction, and obviously, I've got big shoes here to fill with Adam, but as he didn't, you can read through the lines. He's in the Epstein files. So John, I think we all know there was a lot of emails sent, mostly talking about Game of Thrones. Who knew that Jeff and Adam, big Game of Thrones
fashion advice too. I mean,
much.
You saw the outfits that they were
so much. There's no proof to know that Adam knew anything else about what was going on there. Just mostly fashion and TV talk.
I mean, it is true.
It's true. And tell everyone who asks that Adam is leaving because of his association with Jeffrey Epstein. But I'm really thrilled to be here. This is stuff I'm like, passionate about. Business and politics touches so much. There's so much involved. I'm so kind of obsessed with this state of American capitalism and where we are and what that means.
Yeah, and it's been fun to talk to you. So like Robby said, actually, if you've been on the Patreon, you've already known this was coming because Robby was introduced a couple of weeks ago. So the reception was so warm over on Patreon. We had a lot of really nice comments. And I understand, like, as a podcast listener myself, change is really difficult. And so I was definitely worried that a change in any way would be jarring to a listener, whether they liked you or not. But of course, I knew that they would love you. And that has been the reception so far. But, we're always changing as a podcast. I don't think we ever want to stay the same. And so the content itself, the level of research, that won't change. Robby, you bring a really interesting point of view, and I'm genuinely amazed at how quickly you're able to kind of make connections that I wasn't able to make. So it's just more additive. But Adam, you're not going far.
No. Like any ousted CEO, I'll remain completely attached to this podcast in more of an executive facing role. So not to the public, but, I will be taking on a story producing role and doing some research for Robby behind the scenes. So my opinion will still shine through.
And you'll still be on our book club.
And book club, yeah.
So if you want more Adam, of course, you can join over at the Murdoch's Mates level where you can join our quarterly book club. So this won't be the last you will hear of Adam. And I'm sure you'll pop in from time to time as well.
Oh, yeah.
Should we go ahead and get to the episode? This one about Larry Ellison?
Let's do it.
Welcome to the Corporate Gossip Podcast, the business podcast for gossip lovers. You don't need to know anything about business to enjoy the Corporate Gossip Podcast, but you might learn something along the way. Today's episode, Larry Ellison's ABCs. Always be colonizing. Welcome back to the Corporate Gossip Podcast. I'm your host, CPA Scorer Becca Platsky. I'm here with my brand new co-host for the first time officially on the podcast.
Out of office reply guy, Robby Slovic.
I'm so excited you're here. This is a new journey we're on. We introduced you in like the little preamble to the show, and I'm so excited. I mean, to talk about, of all people, Larry Ellison. This is an incredible day.
This is
in history.
I'm very excited to talk about Larry Ellison.
I want to spend today doing kind of a drive-by psychological examination of Larry Ellison. I think, as you mentioned before we started this episode, he's broken from the get-go.
Deeply, yeah.
And then I want to dive into a few insane stories that I know sent you on a couple rabbit holes, poke some holes into the myth of Larry Ellison, and then we'll end with kind of our takeaways.
Amazing.
Okay, so Larry Ellison... And I'm somebody who follows this stuff, but even for me, he's been in the background for the last 20 years. Like, he's been in box seats at Indian Wells. He's pouring champagne over himself at America's Cup or on the red carpet for one of his kids, David or Megan Ellison's movie premieres, or he's on his yacht that he had to rename.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Can we talk about that right now? The yacht, this is one of my favorite things from the whole thing, was called wait, I have to like think of it backwards to get it. Like Izami or something. Izanami. Izanami, which backwards is I'm a Nazi. So he had to change it.
To rename it, which is bad for a boat. You're not supposed to rename a boat. Once you christen it,
oh no,
you're not supposed to ever rename it.
So yeah, I've never, in my social circles, that never comes up.
So that just goes to show you, I mean, you know,
Yes.
he's willing to take the L on that. Not much else.
And he changed it to Ronin, which is like a samurai who does not have a master. So some other piece of Japanese. These guys are such dorks. I can't.
True dorks. Otherwise, okay, he might be on his yacht, or maybe he's holed up on the Ellison Medical Foundation studying anti-aging. He is 81 years old, but I will admit, he does look good for 81.
For 81, he looks legit great, but he does have that like weird like Iron Man like black goatee.
Yes.
And it's like, it looks crazy, but for 81, he looks good.
Slightly puffy, but, you know, fine. In 2013, Vanity Fair called him the wealthiest American you've probably never heard of. And it's kind of like in the past, you know, since the pandemic, Larry turned 80 and was like, being the second richest man in the world is not enough for me. I also need attention.
Yes. Yeah. Well, he's kind of always like, he's weirdly been that way, but he was getting attention in ways that like no one cares about yachting, dude. Like America's Cup is not going to like get the attention you think.
He doesn't want attention from other rich people.
Right.
He wants attention from the masses.
All of us now. I think
Absolutely.
He's been inspired by his friend Elon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's accurate. And he is not afraid, I think, to drum up PR. He loves to talk shit about his competitors. He once called it his civic duty to look through Bill Gates' trash at Microsoft HQ. He hates Bill Gates.
Yeah.
And it's like a theme in every interview he gives where it's not just like, I'm talking about my company. He does this really unique thing where he also shits on everybody else.
Yeah.
Here's a direct quote from Larry, which I think we're going to start to talk about his mindset. Talking about his competitors, he says, we're going to run them out of business, buy their building, and then we're going to bulldoze it. And then we'll go after their families.
Oh my God. See, that's the way people who buy samurai swords, that's the type of shit that they think.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. And but extra crazy because Oracle is like, it's not built as like a standalone company. It's built as a company that companies use.
Right. It's a B2B.
It's a B2B.
You need the two-part.
Right. So it's so weird to be like, fuck these other companies. And do you need our database services by chance?
Yeah. People describe Larry Ellison, and I think it's, you know, we talk about Oracle. So Oracle is a software company. If you're not a B that's using the 2B, maybe you never even heard of Oracle. People say that he is a trailblazer in creating shitty but profitable products. People say that Oracle doesn't have customers, they have hostages. One executive explained that the company is a pain in the ass to do business with, shoves out products before they're ready for prime time, usually after a lot of moaning from the customer, eventually gets things right? And there's a psychoanalyst that analyzes Larry Ellison in one of the books that I read called Winning Isn't Enough, Everyone Else Must Lose. And the psychologist said, narcissists have a strong need to make whatever their vision is real, even if they have to lie about it. That's why Ellison promises products that he hasn't yet developed and pushes the rules as far as he can. And I'm not saying all of this to like diminish what Larry Ellison has accomplished. Like
We would never want to do that. Not on this podcast.
But like, I can't lie and tell you, oh, he's, somewhere between the 6th and 2nd richest person in the world. He's obviously doing something right. I'm saying all of this to kind of shine a light on the fact that in America, the way to do that is bully and exploit.
By being willing to do the stuff that like decent people aren't willing to do.
Exactly.
Basically.
Become a monopolistic bully.
Yes. Lie to customers, lie to clients, and we'll fix it on the back end. It's like it's the shittiest of behavior
and it works.
And it works.
Another way that he kind of maintains his market dominance, and we've talked about this a little bit on this podcast, is like when you become that big of a company, you also have another function, which is a executive export machine. So your executives, for example, Mark Benioff got his start at Oracle.
Okay.
And then what happens is these executives leave Oracle, now many millions of dollars richer. They go be COOs, CEOs at other companies, and they buy Oracle.
Right.
Nice little reciprocal agreement.
Yeah, isn't Silicon Valley like all traces back to like one weird semiconductor company?
We talked about that in the Palantir episode. It all comes back to Fairchild Semiconductor.
Right. So it's like, and it's like that's such a great like villainesque name of like you don't even know what that means, but so it's like it's funny to see that's now scaled between now Oracle is that or whatever and PayPal
and Fairchild, for whom that company is named after, is a Nepo baby tuberculosis survivor.
Oh.
So there you go. Who hated his dad. Anyway, Larry Ellison's initial idea for Oracle, which is used by the biggest companies in the world, American Airlines, Ford, Walmart, some say that idea was stolen. Some say it was lifted from an IBM white paper about a product that they were developing but hadn't developed yet. And I'll say he's constantly accusing other companies of stealing his ideas. He's accused Google, Salesforce of stealing his ideas. He called cloud computing idiocy, and Oracle was a laggard in moving to cloud. And then eventually, after finally catching up, he said he invented cloud computing. And I will say, like, what do they say? Every accusation is an admission of guilt. Or like, I mean, I think it says something that you're accusing everybody.
Confession. Every
accusation is a confession. And I think it says something that he's calling everybody else
that he's accusing everyone. But also, this is like, there's like one idea out there, and then they just keep like repackaging it and repurposing it. And it's like, you guys there's no new ideas.
No new ideas. I mean, that's a refrain that we have on this podcast all the time. Is like these 5 guys share 3 ideas amongst them.
Right. And he even stole the name Oracle, by the way.
I didn't know that.
He was working as a contractor for the CIA doing database stuff, and they had like some CIA thing called the Oracle program. And then when he started his own company, he's like, I liked that. This will just be Oracle.
I want to tell you this story about Larry Ellison doing extreme bullying. And I will say trigger warning if you're listening. This is from that biography called Everyone Else Must Fail. It's a story about an executive named Wayne Harvey who he was like way overloaded as an executive. He was doing the job of 3 people, more than any one man could do, people who were familiar with the situation said. And he'd show up these executive committee meetings with other executives and with Larry. And according to another executive that was there, they were like Wayne bashing sessions. They were like, you're doing nothing right. Everything that you're doing, you're missing these details, whatever. Everybody, including Larry, would pile on this guy. And I guess this guy was kind of a little bit more introverted, and he wasn't as good at debating as Larry or some of the other executives were. And finally, he just like has enough. He blows up at them, and he's like, you're a terrible manager. You're a terrible manager. You're awful. You're awful. And he's getting up and he's leaving the conference room. Here's a quote from the executive that was there. Wayne walked out, opened the door, and the door wouldn't slam. He pushed it several times. It won't slam. We all break out laughing, inconsiderately. He goes red in the face and storms out of the meeting, cursing. The executive added that it was the first time he'd ever seen Larry Ellison speechless. Harvey was fired, which was tragic for the organization because he was doing so much work.
He's doing all the work, yeah.
A few months later, he killed himself and his son.
And his son?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes, killing your son and yourself is
Yeah.
crazy. Do you think it's all because the door didn't slam?
I don't know. There was no lawsuit. There was no, anything like that. I will say it's not the first time we have seen people on this podcast. I would point our listeners back to the episode we did about Carlos Ghosn and Nissan Renault, where executives who were overworked killed themselves.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, especially because like the smart ones, like they kind of don't work at all. Like they find a Harvey and they put it all on them.
And like you're being bullied and again, when you're in that type of world, and we've talked about it, I mean, so many toxic workplaces, which this seemed like one. Not only was there toxicity, but there was also extreme sexual harassment that was normalized. Yeah. Larry even called his own management style management by humiliation.
What a great place to work. Yeah. And then wasn't he like dating 3 employees simultaneously?
Yeah, he was involved in several sexual harassment and wrongful termination lawsuits. He was conducting simultaneous romantic relationships with as many as 3 female employees at once. That sometimes created confusion. This is from a Washington Post article, I think sometime in the early 2000s. Ellison openly described an incident in which a woman employee arrived at his house one night only to find another girlfriend employee there. A journalist describes Larry as having an acute sense of when he doesn't need people anymore. He's like a juicer, he says. He squeezes people dry and then discards them. He fulfills his part of the bargain, but he does it in a devilish way. It's not necessary to have so many hurt feelings.
It's like even describing someone like an acute sense of, what was that quote again? An acute
sense of when he doesn't need people anymore.
Right. Which is like a lot of people have that sense, I guess, but it's like that's not how you quantify a person, by like need and not need. And then like, it's like that type of mentality is just insane right out the gate.
But if you're in Silicon Valley and you're wanting to be successful in your career and you see Oracle, I mean, I can put myself in this position as an executive working there. Like, this is normal. Everybody's putting Larry, remember, especially in the 80s and 90s, I mean, there's this huge myth around some of these Silicon Valley executives where this is all normalized. And you don't know anything else. A lot of the people who were working at Oracle came out of college, started working for this company, became very, very rich. And this is their whole
that's
world.
All they know, yeah.
I think that this was somewhat accepted in the 80s and 90s because in many ways, and again, we talked about this in the Palantir episode where we kind of went back to the history of Silicon Valley. In many ways, people looked, including the American government, looked at the Silicon Valley as like the way to save white-collar jobs after NAFTA. And there was some acceptance that like these business guys were super geniuses, and you know what? If there were a couple paper cuts along the way, so be it. If a couple people killed themselves along the way, okay. Well, it is cost of doing business. And I think it's also normalized and acceptable when everything's flush and you're doing really well.
Right.
At the end of the 90s, Oracle employed 34,000 people and made a lot of them really rich.
Yeah. That's huge. I mean, 34,000 people, that's a gigantic corporation.
Huge. So I think he benefited from propaganda. He benefited from some goodwill and kind of a boys will be boys attitude. And I think that people were terrified of him.
Yeah, I mean, he was immensely powerful. It makes sense. And also, it was like, that the 90s were a different time. It's funny because at the time, you're like, man, the 50s were a different time, the 60s. But like now the 90s really do feel like a different time where a CEO could date 3 employees at the company simultaneously.
Yeah.
And people would be like, that's just Larry.
Think about where we are now, where at a Coldplay concert, you find out that a CEO is hooking up with an HR executive, and they're both of their lives are ruined.
Are destroyed. Yeah, fully destroyed. Meanwhile, Larry Ellison is just, raw dogging through his employees one by one.
One by one.
Yeah.
His arrogance, I will say, like, did almost cost him the company. He is constantly moving to the next shiny object. He's sailing. He's starting other companies in the 90s. And while he's not paying attention at Oracle, there's a pretty significant accounting scandal. It's very Jeff Skilling coded. Without getting too into the details, he basically books this revenue before it's
Enron. It's very like,
which is like, again, common.
This money's going to come in, so
I'll book it now. But I do want to point that out because we're going to get back to that at the end of the episode where like this is a trend for Larry.
Yeah.
He recognizes his success before he has any evidence of it. He kind of like banks it for himself. I want to end the section with a former Oracle employee who said, Do not fall into the trap of anthropomorphizing Larry Ellison. You need to think of Larry Ellison the way you think of a lawnmower. You don't anthropomorphize the lawnmower. You stick your hand in there, it's going to chop it off.
Yeah, okay. I get that. That makes sense.
And he warns against it, but I want to try. I want to try to understand Larry Ellison. I want to go back to meet baby Ellison.
You want to stick your hand in the lawnmower.
I sure do.
Okay.
Maybe for corporate gossip number 1, I actually think I could fix Larry Ellison.
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
What do you
Okay.
think?
Well, go on. Certainly 3 of his employees tried.
But I can.
Uh-huh.
You know, we've talked a lot about fucked up families on this podcast. If you're looking for those episodes specifically, you can listen to the Vince McMahon episode, the Tony Hsieh episode, Crazy Eddie, Paramount, the Coke episodes, Subway. There's honestly probably more.
You just mentioned all your episodes.
Basically.
Yeah.
I mean, because family trauma really is at the root of, there's a reason that I say, if you make over $100 million or if that's your net worth, you need state mandated therapy.
Yeah.
Because you will unleash wreckage. And the scale at which you can do that when you're very rich is significant.
Sure.
And it's a public health concern if I was the fucking Surgeon General.
I'm 100% with you on this.
Larry's got a supremely fucked up childhood. He's born to a teenage mom in the Bronx, 19 years old. He gets pneumonia as a baby, and his mom gives him up to her sister and her husband. Now, there are very few interviews in which he talks about this. I could actually only find one that he gave. I wanted just you to hear him in his own words, what happens next.
I believed until I was 12 years old that I was not adopted. I had no idea that I was adopted within my own family.
So, Larry Ellison, I mean, he's honest about the fact that his childhood sucked. And he often says, I had every disadvantage necessary to be successful.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that we saw in the Vince McMahon episode, where Vince McMahon would always say, like, I don't like it when people say that their disadvantages are the reason that they're not successful. I was able to push past mine. Look at me, I'm a
Yeah, that's
multi-billionaire.
a big time asshole statement.
And
Yeah.
And it's also like, and he's like, I don't use it as an excuse. And I think Larry Ellison would also say the same thing. But it's like, look at the wreckage you've created.
I mean, it's very much like someone standing up and flipping the table and being like, I was spanked as a kid and I'm fine. And you're like, are you?
Yeah.
Are you fine?
Yeah. I mean, his parents don't tell him he's adopted until he's 12.
Yeah.
You're about to be a teenager.
That's I don't like, that's a weird thing. I don't know how you handle that. Like, I don't know what's normal, what's not in that space, but I'm always just like with these guys, I think I might have said this before with you, I'm just like so skeptical about, because they understand the power of narrative and they're liars. And it's like, I never quite know what to believe from their childhoods because they're often painted as like, and then I was a pickpocket, and, you know, like they're very like Dickensian upbringings that they all paint for you.
Yeah. Well, he says that he grew up poor on the south side of Chicago, which now we know south side of Chicago as like whatever you think, whatever that brings to mind. But at the time, similar to Howard Schultz will say, I grew up in the projects in New York City. But pre-90s, it was very normal. It was very working class. It was very middle class. Like Larry Ellison objectively grew up in and neighbors that grew up with him, they remember their childhood. You know, they're like, it was pretty middle class. It was normal. There was nothing about it that was like objectively poor.
Right.
But that's how he describes it. He even says, like, the richer I get, the poorer I tell my story. So he's being honest about it. Apparently his dad is a real dick, his adopted dad. He's always telling him you'll never amount to anything.
Per Larry. Yeah.
Per Larry.
Yeah.
And he doesn't meet his birth mom until he's 42, and he has a PI try to track her down.
Track her down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess her sister, who is his adoptive mother, had lost contact with her as well. His adoptive mom dies when he's in his first year in college, so he drops out. And he says, it was an incredible sense of loss. She was my sole support system growing up. I want to have you listen to this part of the interview where he talks about because they ask him, right? Like, they ask him in this interview, you're sailing, you're doing like aerobatics.
Aerial acrobatics in planes.
You're like this super risk-taking guy. Like, is there any time that you faced fear? And here he is explaining the only time in his life he's ever felt afraid.
The most deeply afraid I can remember being was once my mother came, I guess I was 5, and my mother went to school, went to preschool, went to school, and my mother came home very late from work. So it was 6 o'clock, so no one was home, and I was very worried that my mother wouldn't come home. And I was deeply afraid. That's the only time I can remember being deeply afraid.
When he was wait, 6 years old or 5 years old, and his mom wasn't home from work. Is that what it was?
Yeah. And that's the only time, because he thought she maybe wouldn't come home. And that was the only time he was ever been deeply afraid. Like, here's a picture of baby Ellison, baby Larry Ellison, but like, I feel a real sense of like sadness for this baby.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
Like,
I mean, look, that's a fear. That's a core fear for every kid, I think, is your mom not coming home. But I think that there's less damage in that statement and more damage in the fact that he's going to like sit there with a straight face and be like, besides that, I've never been deeply afraid. Thanks to my collection of samurai swords.
Well, and it's also, I think, to psychoanalyze a little bit further, it's like I'm actually impenetrable.
Yes.
Literally nothing that can ever happen to me can get through to me. And I'm sure he's never been in therapy. I mean, some of the most fucked up people, especially older people that I've ever met, never want to go to therapy despite being abused, despite having these like horrific childhoods like Larry has. And I think it really shows the fact that, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, I don't feel fear. What do you mean you never feel fear?
Yeah. No,
Your
one
company
time
almost went
when I
under.
was 5.
Yeah.
Then I grew up, bro.
His adoptive mom dies. He ends up living with his dad for a little bit when he tries to go back to school at the university in Chicago. And he ends up leaving because I guess his adoptive father starts drinking a lot.
Okay.
And ultimately he blames his father, some sources say either for his mother's death, at least at a minimum for his mother's unhappiness, he says. So
That's heavy. That's a heavy
it's
one.
heavy.
Yeah.
And he talks about having to conform in order to be loved. He acknowledges that he has always felt like an outsider, even within his own family. I did some research you could probably guess this, but childhood abandonment can lead to difficulty in intimate relationships, friendships, the need to control others, jumping from one relationship to another. I'll note he's been married 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Low self-esteem, anxiety, and even self-harm.
Weird goatees.
Yep. And I actually think one of the reasons he hates Bill Gates is because Bill Gates had a very normal, loving
Stable
childhood.
childhood.
That's my guess. But I think there's like kind of 2 elements that are coming up for me in terms of Larry's adolescence / young adulthood, which is he's not afraid, but he also doesn't face consequences. So he does do all these really dangerous things. And like, yeah, he's broken some bones, he's gotten in accidents, but for the most part, he's 81 and he's unscathed.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is with the sexual assault or sexual harassment stuff, there's this story. He's being interviewed by this Vanity Fair reporter, and he's sitting at the Chicago Bulls game, and it's Larry, and then a 20-something Miss USA contestant named Melanie, and then the reporter.
Uh-huh.
And throughout the interview, he's groping Melanie.
Yeah.
Melanie stands up, and apparently in front of the reporter, he just gives her butt a
Gives her a
honk.
little, uh-huh.
And he's a horny teenager, but the fact is, like, he's never faced any consequences for this. So it's like this feeling of I'm invincible, and even if I do something bad, nothing's going to happen to me.
Oh, well, again, that Vanity Fair profile, I think, is from like the 90s or whatever, where again, it's like the reporter would have been like, weirdly, he didn't grab the 20-year-old's ass. I don't know. Is this guy even a CEO?
You're right. There's this little story, I didn't end up including it, but I actually think it's relevant, where he's racing his Ferrari to the Oracle office and a cop starts trailing him.
Yeah.
He pulls into the parking lot. The cop gets out, knocks on his window. He refuses to pull down the window. And he calls up to the Oracle general counsel,
Okay.
who has to come out of the office. And he just says, hey, deal with this. I'm going upstairs.
Yeah, there's no consequences. You
No
just
consequences.
live a completely different
Different
life
life.
at that point.
You
Yeah.
buy yourself into a different universe.
Yes.
And that's the fact. I mean, it would be incorrect to say that there isn't another existing plane that these guys can buy themselves into. So he is playing by the rules that we have created for people like him.
There is just like there's very much like a few countries within this country.
Yeah. Despite all the flash, despite Larry's lifestyle, he says he's actually not here to get rich. He's not on Earth to get rich. It's just, a fringe benefit.
Passionate about storing data for enterprise level companies. That's it. I'm just a guy who loves databases.
Aren't we all?
And if you make money off of that, well, shucks. That's pretty cool.
He says his goal, to make the world a better place.
Oh,
I know,
that's so
isn't that
nice of
nice?
him.
And he says, here's a quote. The goal is not to be the richest guy in the graveyard. I don't care how much I'm worth when I'm dead. How do I make myself feel good? The only way I know how to make myself good is to make the world better. Don't mistake that for altruism. It's egotism. call it enlightened egotism.
Ugh. Again, and I'm going to keep harping on this, big samurai sword owner energy there.
Enlightened egotism.
Enlightened egotism.
I think it was his enlightened egotism that led to one of the funniest business flops I've quite possibly ever seen on this podcast that took place in Hawaii.
Okay, let's talk about it.
So, corporate gossip number 2 is, hi, my name is Larry Ellison. I invented colonization, and it's actually not that bad. So this was a wrinkle in the Larry Ellison story that I knew nothing about before starting this research.
Mm-hmm.
I knew he owned 98% of a Hawaiian island called Lanai, but I didn't realize he went full office space in one of the most embarrassing rich guy flops of all times.
Okay, tell me about this.
So this island, he buys it from another former CEO of Dole named Murdoch, his last name. This guy's fucking weird. He owned it for a long time. He died when he was 102. He's vaguely, he's seems very white supremacist. He calls all the people that live on the island his children. We actually, interestingly, covered the colonial history of Hawaii in an after show for the AOL Steve Case episode because Steve Case has some weird goings on in Hawaii.
All the billionaires have weird goings on in Hawaii.
In the 1800s, a bunch of businessmen, and again, we go into this in depth.
Whenever a story starts in the 1800s, a bunch of businessmen, it's gonna get shit's about to get wild.
Interestingly, a lot of Mormons go to Hawaii. They colonize, they stage a coup, they overthrow the monarchy. If you listen this season, we did an episode, The Ghosts of Shrikesmas Pass, and one of the subjects was the Bahamas, where we had this like very small minority rule of white wealthy businessmen named the Bay Street Boys, and they kind of ran the government despite the fact that it was obviously a majority Caribbean, Black, Afro-Caribbean population. It's very similar to that in Hawaii, where you had this minority rich white rule controlling the government, controlling the economy, and telling the native population to kick rocks.
Right.
So I say all that to set context.
Yeah.
Enter Larry Ellison. He buys the island in 2012 for $300 million. The land of Lanai, much like the rest of Hawaii, was FUBAR because all these sugar barons, all these industrial pineapple farmers overfarmed it, polluted it. Like Hawaii's land that was formerly very fertile is now fucking busted.
Yeah. It was like a country with its own proud culture in like the 1800s, and then some like business people showed up and were like, "You're a pineapple store now," and that's basically what happened.
And that's why today, if you go to Hawaii, the grocery costs are exorbitant because they don't grow any other stuff.
Anything there.
Larry Ellison, and I really don't want to make a Dust Bowl comparison, but the truth, that's lie.
Like you know yourself, you can't do it.
Let's just say he went to the Michael Bloomberg School of Agriculture. And I sent you this quote from Michael Bloomberg.
Yes.
I incorporate this quote just because it's very funny. This is Michael Bloomberg explaining how easy it is to farm.
I could teach anybody, even people in this room, so no offense intended, to be a farmer. It's a process. You dig a hole, you put a seed in, you put dirt on top, add water, up comes the corn. Now comes the information economy. And the skill sets that you have to learn are how to think and analyze. And that is a whole degree level different. You have to have a different skill set. You have to have a lot more gray matter.
They just love thinking that farming is so easy and anyone can do it. And the only reason it didn't work here is because everybody's just dumber than me.
They're just not as smart as Michael Bloomberg.
They don't have as much gray matter.
And look, Michael Bloomberg, much like me, much like you, I think, New York Jew, farming, just not, we don't come across it very often, you know? So I could understand thinking like, well, I've seen it. You put a seed in the thing and then the thing grows.
I can't understand that because I know, farming is hard.
Of course it's hard, yeah.
Oh, you were being sarcastic.
Yes. But I can understand being so Dunning-Kruger to be like, I don't know, it's like the fucking grocery stores are filled with produce. How hard can it be?
Here's Larry Ellison on farming.
We've looked at agriculture, and it's one of the few industries that has not been transformed by modern technology.
It's just not like that's just a blatant lie. Like, what are you talking about? You look at a book from the 1800s? Like,
It hasn't been transformed by modern tech. There are no robots out there.
So like, like what are you talking about exactly? Like everything about farming is now modern technology.
Literally, what? Like genuinely,
Yes.
it's probably the industry that's the most transformed.
Like, what does someone like David Ellison or Larry Ellison mean when he says we've looked at agriculture? Like, truly, what does that mean? You drove by a farm?
And I don't want to bring it up, but during the Dust Bowl,
Oh,
all
yes.
these business
Here we go.
people came
We
out.
need to get a Dust Bowl.
All these business people came out and they said, you guys are using the cultivating plow, the turn plow, and that's really inefficient. What you should be using is the one-sided plow,
And then what happened?
the Dust Bowl.
The Dust Bowl.
You know what I mean? It's like, wait, you guys just didn't think to do this faster and more?
Yeah.
Why didn't you think of that? This
Why
should
didn't
be
you do it?
drier. So he starts Sensei Farm. Talk about Japanese fucking loser again.
He can't turn it
I
off.
know.
You Karate Kid dork.
He uses AI and robots. He puts a computer scientist in charge of farming operations with zero experience farming. I just had to point that out.
Yeah, but he's a computer science, so he's obviously very smart.
Their goal, feed the world. Feed the entire...
Well, that's nice. That's what would he call it? Altruistic ego? What was
Sure.
it?
He also wants to... enlightened egotism.
Oh, enlightened egotism.
Mhm.
Yes, and if that's driving him to feed the world, then Becca,
Great.
I support him.
Also, employ 2/5 of the world's population.
Oh, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Feed us and so all you have to do is house us, and then Daddy Larry is taking care of all of us.
2/5 of the world's population.
Yeah,
That's like, what, 3 billion people?
that is more. Yeah, it's like 4 billion people.
He called it a grand experiment in sustainability. One of the executives said that, quote, greenhouse structures were optimized for tulips in Holland in the 1600s and have not been dramatically overhauled since. By the way, that was false.
Of course,
according to
it's
scientists.
false.
So their optimization was adding Tesla solar panels that didn't work because they weren't installed properly.
Can I just say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
For the guys who kind of all like invented the internet, you'd think they'd use it sometime. Like you'd think, like, you know, for some, like this is very much men in the 90s
Yeah.
coded. And I probably would have been one of them before the internet, where you can just pass off anything as facts because people can't just look it up.
Yeah.
So at a party, I could like swirl my martini and be like, did you know since 1600 they haven't updated greenhouses at all? They were made for tulips, and we're still using that. And then everyone would be like, oh, interesting, you know? But now someone pulls out their phone and is like, no, what the fuck are you talking about?
But Robby, you're missing the part where they're operating in a world where everybody they interact with is a sycophantic ChatGPT.
Yes.
So they don't say, actually, you're wrong.
Yeah.
They say, oh
Huh.
my God, you're absolutely right. They're still living in that world because nobody tells them that they're wrong.
That's a great point. Yeah. Yes. They're surrounded by like bots, essentially.
Effectively.
Yeah.
And for a lot of these CEOs, the minute that you do start to push back, you're gone.
Right.
The other problem with these solar panels is the wind whipped up all this dry ass soil
Yeah.
on the farm and covered the solar panels with dirt.
Yeah. I think I read a little bit about this, and that it was like they brought in like farm experts from Israel who are used to like farming in the desert, and they're just like, well, it should work exactly the same on this
Right.
lush Hawaiian island.
Yeah, exactly. They planted young and mature plants next to each other, which obviously as a farmer I didn't know, but apparently creates an insect buffet.
Yes, and but of course, a guy like Larry Ellison dating his 3 employees, he's going to be like, put the young ones next to the old one. They're going to love it. I promise you. At first, they're going to be a little turned off, but when they see the experience them old plants have. That's actually, he talks nothing like that. He actually talks very like
Southern, kind of like a,
like a disarming, like, oh, I just want to.
yeah, very like Southern California kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a quote. Ellison routinely went through the greenhouses picking tomatoes off the vine, offering them to guests, including Tony Blair, the former
British Prime Minister.
British Prime Minister, and eating them unwashed, despite having been told they weren't organic and had been sprayed with pesticides. On a tour with Tony Blair, Ellison offered him the unwashed tomatoes, and Blair declined.
Oh no, I'm quite full already. Thank you. I perhaps maybe later I could, but I'm quite full. Thank you.
Ellison wanted to grow wasabi for the NOBU that he built on the island. And by the way, he built the NOBU.
The NOBU, the 2/5 of the world is going to eat that.
Right. He built that NOBU because he said that the cuisine in Lanai was inedible.
Oh, yeah. I know. Look, I've been there. Sometimes you ever go on vacation and the food there doesn't agree with you, so you build a Nobu. I think we've all.
The chef was like, we don't need wasabi. We could use lettuce.
Uh-huh.
So they started farming lettuce. And now if you go to Sensei Farms, you'll see that they just sell boxed lettuce. That's it. Like a famously unsaturated business.
Yes. That's truly amazing to be like, we've harnessed the power of modern technology. We've changed agriculture forever.
It's still, to this day, apparently a money-losing operation. They stopped growing cucumbers and peppers because they lost so much money, so it's just lettuce. But the executive in charge told the Wall Street Journal, we actually stopped growing cucumbers because people, this is direct quote, people, no offense, don't really like cucumbers.
Did he say no offense?
Yes. I love also Larry's idea of feeding the world with watermelons, cucumbers, and lettuce.
and wasabi, the hottest, like the most inedible hot sauce thing that cannot be eaten by itself. They can only trace amounts.
Famously, like, filling foods. And then I realized I actually looked at the fine print. He said, I actually feed the world's guinea pig population. Because lettuce.
It's like, but there's also like, if you have any suspicion that these guys are inhuman, like that they are aliens or something, this would be it. If he was like, I'm going to feed the world with cucumbers, wasabi, and lettuce. Like, what? That's not the way a human being thinks. And it will employ 4 billion people.
It's like, I mean, and objectively, like, to feed the world, you would need to grow lentils.
Yes.
Rice.
Oh,
beans,
yes.
Unsexy things.
Some of these things are like, it's like an 8-year-old doing a book report and then they're taking questions from the class
Right.
and they just have to like, and so tell me, how would your farm work? I hire 4 billion people.
You're right. It's like a fake.
It's just like, and what would you grow? Lettuce, wasabi, farm stuff.
So back to this island. Larry still owns this island and he's a fucking menace.
Mm-hmm.
He runs the whole town. Bloomberg actually went out there and interviewed residents who say that his decisions basically carry the rule of law because
Bloomberg, the publication, not the man who thinks farming is super
he
easy.
didn't do any firsthand research, that's for sure. But there's no government, basically. He owns the grocery store, he owns the gas station, the community newspaper, the hotels, the rental car business.
Oh, this is like an old school mining town. Where it's
Totally.
like you get paid in mine bucks or whatever.
Yeah, basically. A lot of the small businesses actually had to close because they couldn't beat his prices because he could like cut deals that no one else could. And also he owns the land.
It's not only that I have to win, everyone else has to lose. And when that everyone is like farmers on a remote Hawaiian island, that really is psychotic behavior.
Ultimately, they're moving out.
And you kind of wish his adopted dad was right that he never grew up to be anything because what he
true.
became with anything is not great.
He's a fucking menace.
Yeah.
And residents are moving out and more rich people are just showing up and building there. But like he's turned this into fucking Urinetown.
Yeah.
Like this is ridiculous. And in many ways, it's kind of a microcosm of America, ain't it?
No, America's perfect. I don't know what you're talking about. Whatever you're saying, I'm not going along with it. There's no changes, no notes. 10 of 10.
Remember when WeWork convinced everyone that renting desks was disrupting real estate? Or when Theranos sold investors on blood tests that didn't really work? Corporate disasters aren't always that dramatic. Sometimes they're quieter, like spending 6 figures on a CRM that your sales team actively avoids, or discovering your marketing, sales, and business systems live in completely separate universes and no one can tell you what's actually working. Orange Marketing sponsors Corporate Gossip because we both believe the same thing. Corporate screw-ups are the best teacher you'll ever have. Orange Marketing is a HubSpot Diamond partner that fixes broken revenue operations. They've spent 8 years cleaning up the duct tape tech stacks of B2B companies who finally got tired of their systems making 0 sense. They turned scattered sales, marketing, and service operations into coordinated systems that actually work. We've seen this movie hundreds of times. We know how it ends. For Corporate Gossip listeners, Orange Marketing is offering a 1-hour consultation and 10% off services. No call for quote garbage. Prices are posted right on their website. Go to orangemarketing.com/podcast or click the link in the show notes. That's orangemarketing.com/podcast. All right, you ready to move to the last subject?
Yes.
All right, Corporate Gossip number 3 is Larry's shiny new money pit.
Ooh.
So I think we've sufficiently poked some holes in the Larry as a business genius narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So with that context, let's go back to the future and investigate what this fucker is up to.
Yes.
So Larry Ellison has 2 kids, by the way, with his second wife, David Ellison and Megan Ellison. Both of them have been involved in the movie business, but now son David Ellison wants not only to be a producer of movies and an actor in movies and a thespian, as you called him, but he also wants to be a big business guy, and he wants to prove himself to dad.
Yes, he wants to be big-time studio head.
And that is what he's doing via a $111 billion acquisition of Warner Brothers and previously Paramount.
That he had to lean on Daddy to like get this deal closed as well.
Big time.
Like not only financially, like Larry had to get on the phone and make this happen.
It would not have happened if he wasn't Larry Ellison's son.
No, David was making sure that it came with Yakko, Wacko, and Dot in the Warner Brothers water tower. They're like, I want all 3 Animaniacs. I don't care how much we have to pay. And Larry's like, you did
great.
You did great. Good job. Why don't you go look? He gives him one of those like paddles with a ball and a thing. You go outside.
I actually think you're not far off.
Yeah.
And side note, David Ellison did not have a great relationship with his dad until he became an adult. He was seemingly, from all accounts, a pretty absent father.
Yeah.
With his only 2 kids, showing up once in a while. He says that, I don't have the quote with me, but it's something like, I did the necessary or I did the obligatory dad time with my kids when they were young. And he kind of talks about it very at an arm's length.
Yeah, because he's a shitty dude. He probably has spent more time with his samurai swords than his children.
I would agree.
Yeah.
And I think there is generational trauma. I mean, certainly David Ellison not only wants to be a big studio head because he gets to go to the French Laundry and he gets to go to
Universal Studios whenever he wants. Skip the lines.
It's true. He gets to go to all those places, but I think more importantly to him is prove to dad that I can do it too.
Yeah, that's always the thing. And that's that's the only person and dad never lets them. That's the thing in these situations. Dad never lets them because dad always pays the bills and covers all of it and makes it happen. And then they can't prove to daddy that they deserve it, and they don't, but they still it just totally destroys them as people. I really think that. It's a curse.
I think this is a curse.
Yeah.
I think that's accurate. So he just put $40 billion of his own money into Warner Brothers for his sweet baby boy. They have $70 billion in debt. 60% of the deal is financed by the Saudis.
Yeah.
It is, to your point, not a growing business.
Right.
In fact, it is a shrinking business. The whole operation is going to turn into a Trump ball washing machine.
Well, that's kind of the thing, right? After his decisions at CBS with Barry Weiss, and now they're going to have CNN as well. And no one really watches CNN. The numbers are 500,000 viewers, but that name carries weight. So you do wonder, this is a lot. This might as well just be a $30 lettuce for them. They can throw this money away in service of whatever their ultimate goals are.
That's what's confusing to me. I mean, a lot of people say, he's an expert deal maker. He must be doing some 4D chess. I haven't seen it.
No, it's like that thing in Succession, congratulations on saying the highest number.
I think that's what it is. And I think
through an insane number that they couldn't turn down. They wanted to turn it down. They rebuffed it for how many offers? 3 or 4 offers. And it's it just hit so much money that they're okay. And Saudis, they live on they live on money. They live on a giant country of money. So they're yeah, whatever. And we'll use this to somehow whitewash whatever we're doing too.
Yeah, they talk about, Matt Bellany has talked about doing White Lotus Riyadh.
Yeah.
You're going to start to see that kind of stuff. David Ellison is now the CEO of a company with 53,000 employees whose only corporate acquisition experience was, and I quote from people familiar with the matter, interning at Oracle for 2 summers during the 90s and watching his dad work through some deals.
Oh, good. Cool. Mostly divorce deals, probably, but still.
Here's what you get when you ask David Ellison, what is this going to look like? What's the combined Paramount Warner Brothers actually going to look like for customers?
Going to get Yellowstone, basically, and Game of Thrones on the same service. I think that's going to be pretty powerful.
But that didn't answer my question. Are you going to combine these 2 services and then raise the price of what people were paying for HBO, or what's the plan there?
So we're absolutely going to put the services together. We don't have anything to comment on pricing at this point.
He's really perfected his business guy voice.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird curse being a Nepo fail son, where it's whatever you do, you'll never be anything but someone's kid,
It's true.
And that is a tough thing to deal with. But yes, he's learned how to clean up his image and play the business game. But then the answer to his question is like when the lady asks like, what is it going to be like with the merger? And he's like, imagine you could get Yellowstone and Game of Thrones in one place. You're like, okay, but I also can just click out of one app and open the other one. Like I've never Yellowstone and Game of Thrones. I don't even know what like the crossover is there.
And now you're gonna get both of those for $75 a month.
No, it's like but it's also just like it's a sizzler. It's like imagine more slop was in one place, and you're like, sick, dude, cool, okay.
He doesn't have a strategy.
Yeah.
He genuinely does not have a strategy because he's not smart.
Mm-hmm.
My take is, I think that this is going to be just Sensei 2.0. I think this is going to be a money pit. I think it's going to be a inferior product at a premium price.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is that Sensei, that's also Oracle.
Yeah.
And the pressure is only...
This year, the biggest picture is lettuce. It comes in a box. Is this a movie? Don't worry about it.
I think they're going to do increasingly zany things
Uh-huh.
because the pressure is really ramping up. Larry's fortune is basically, he's in a suicide pact with OpenAI.
Yes.
And he's said that he's going to provide data centers at a cost of $300 billion to OpenAI over the next 10 years. That is an assumption that's made on the basis of many question marks.
Yeah, this is mostly just about juicing like stock prices for both companies so they can, it's just like keeping the pyramid going.
I don't think it's a coincidence that he announced this deal while they were trying to acquire Warner Brothers.
Right.
I mean, he very briefly on the announcement of this OpenAI deal became the world's richest person.
Totally.
Now he's back down to 6.
And also, like the whole industry, writers, actors, everyone went to war over like integration of AI in Hollywood, which I think was overblown. I don't think they should have, but regardless, that was part of it. And now they just sold it all to the AI companies.
Yeah.
Like now they're going to own it. They won.
Yeah.
Handily. Yeah.
Yeah. They won for now.
Yes.
Because go back to Looney Tunes, this is kind of like we're at the beginning of, when the bomb, like there's like a long string attached to a bomb and it's like, that's what's happening right now. Because the questions are we going to continue experiencing AI demand like we're seeing right now? Allegedly, we're seeing a ton of AI demand. I'm not demanding it. But the idea that we're going to need these massive data centers, the idea that we're not going to move to, for example, small language models that don't need a data center that just can run on your own computer. Or even the question of, can OpenAI even pay Oracle $300 million? Because as of now, 2026, they haven't seen one penny of profit.
They're losing money and jamming ads into their AI responses now.
And so Oracle has baked into its financial projections what looks like hockey stick growth.
Mm-hmm.
And most analysts are like, I don't think that's going to happen.
Right.
There's also already class action lawsuits saying that a lot of the promises that Oracle has been making are a fraudulent way to increase Ellison's personal net worth. But Larry continues to say, AI is a much bigger deal than the Industrial Revolution, electricity, and everything that has come before. Bigger deal than fire.
Wow. And this from the man who revolutionized farming.
Lettuce.
Greenhouses.
And I think that's like, again, the past is the best predictor of the future. This man who told you he could feed the world, who told you that
he would employ two-fifths of the
world, who has consistently booked revenues before they actually exist,
yes,
who has been investigated by the SEC for fraud, is now telling you, my business is going to quadruple revenues in the next 10 years.
Oh, and by the way, people are selling like derivatives around these data centers' future profits.
It's so odd. And I think it's very suspicious that these AI companies are pushing this product on us and the US government. It feels very much not like we are demanding it, but it is very much being like shoved down our throats. Mm-hmm. And then you have to look at not only the AI companies that benefit, but think about all the other people that benefit. The Wall Street banks, the construction companies, the energy companies. Like a lot of people have their eggs in the AI basket and are making a lot of very weighty assumptions that everything is going to work out.
Right. Yeah, this is like, it feels like the same as like crypto pump and dump.
Totally.
Like people being like, yeah, once you have Bitcoin, you're like, you got to have Bitcoin. Everybody, you should get Bitcoin. Of course, you're evangelizing the thing. Like you need people to buy in to get the money. And like,
it's a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, it's a pyramid scheme. And I think everyone, I don't know. I think there's like a prevailing sense that America is in like it's a, last season kind of, so people are just kind of like, let me pump this as much as I can, get the money I can, and then everything will fall apart. But I would have secured myself.
I think billionaires feel that way.
Yes.
I mean, we can see it in the number of like fallout shelters that they have. I definitely think they feel that like some type of change is coming, and it is not a change that will benefit them, unlike the other changes that we've seen in this country.
Like the billionaire like intuition is like, I see that we're getting close to the French Revolution, and then some people might be like, so maybe we could try to make things more equitable, and they're like, oh, let's just build bunkers. We saw what happened to everyone in the French Revolution. Let's just hide in our money. The pyramid scheme, they're going to end up in pyramids in little tombs with all of their shit.
You know what makes me feel better, though? We have talked on this podcast about Jeff Bezos, for example, has a bunker, and he has a doctor and a pilot, former Navy pilot, who he's already paid to bring them and their families to live with him in his bunker. Nobody wants to live with Jeff Bezos. No one. So Adam had said at one point, he's like, I think that the military pilot is going to just fuck up Jeff Bezos and be like, I own your bunker now.
I'm in your bunker now, yeah.
And so I think ultimately the thing that makes me feel better is if you're on like prepper Reddits, one of the things that they'll tell you.
Not, by the way.
I am. One of the things that they'll tell you is it's one thing to have all the supplies, but the thing that you really need to survive is community. The thing that you really need is people that you can trust. That's the thing that will help you survive more than money.
That's what I'd say if I didn't have supplies.
Do you think so?
If I didn't have supplies, I'd be like, it's community. You need to it's about community. And then when I get in there, I get the supplies. Because it's not just about me winning, it's about them losing. That's what I always say.
You don't think that there's any truth to that?
No, I think there's deep truth to that.
Yeah.
But, because you're looking at it's like an anarchy type of situation where there are kind of no laws anymore. So if you're hated, like someone will kill you and take the supplies.
Yeah. And so that does make me feel better because I'm like, you can make all the bunkers you want, but ultimately you will run out of food. You clearly don't know how to grow it. So you're going to need farmers. And
guys, we're eating more wasabi tonight.
So that makes me feel better. I think we need to think about the patterns that we've seen in Larry, booking revenues before they exist, moving on to the next shiny object. And here's my predictions, and I'm curious what you think. I think that Larry is ultimately going to throw David under the bus. He's talked about how David, despite what we joke, that Daddy is actually doing the deal. He says that David has been managing most of this deal. I don't understand how, because he has no idea what the fuck he's doing. Maybe he's surrounding himself by by smart people. But I think what's actually happening is Larry is putting himself as far away from David as possible. So when this goes under, he can say, David, you fucked up.
You fucked it up bad. I don't know if you came across this quote. Did you come across the Steve Jobs flying with your son quote?
No.
Okay, I think this is important because it really illuminates the entire thing, which is, I guess, Larry and David bonded when he was younger by both doing aerial flight school, learning how to fly World War I fighter jets or whatever. And Steve Jobs, Larry's friend, said, man, you're kind of crazy to go up there and let a teen control the plane because anything could happen. And Larry said, there's something Steve's missing out in a response to this interview. There's something Steve's forgetting. If David does anything stupid, I'll just grab the stick. And that's his whole life. If David does anything stupid, I'll just grab the stick. So David is never really in control of anything, and he knows that. And I think Larry will do whatever, if he wants him to be a sacrificial lamb or whatever he needs him to be.
Yeah. What does he say? He has a unique sense of knowing when he doesn't need people anymore.
Right.
He doesn't need his son.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't think he thinks that.
Yeah. I mean,
and what a sad place to be as David. How could he possibly feel like a actualized person?
There is another quote, and one of the other things about the daughter who runs Annapurna Studios, Megan, who she called because she got nominated for 2 Oscars in the same year through Annapurna Pictures, which it is amazing, but it's definitely easier to do if you have billions of dollars to throw at stuff. But she called him and said, I'm nominated for 2 Oscars, and he said, call me back when you win. That's gotta break you.
I don't trust that Larry Ellison has changed at all. I think some of the billionaires that we talk about on this podcast and we follow their entire life story, you'll see them change. Sometimes they get worse, sometimes they get better. Ted Turner, I think, is a perfect example of somebody who later in life was like, oh my God, I don't want to be a ruthless asshole. I'm actually a big lover boy. Jack Welch almost died in a fire, and he decided that he actually just wanted to spend more money and be more horrible. Larry, I think, has been consistently shitty his whole life.
In a way that's kind of refreshing, though. It's like he would have been, I think if he worked at the local mall, like he would have been an asshole. Like
Yes,
it's just like
yes.
it's who he is.
Yep.
And there's something nice about like, you kind of an evil asshole. You have been your whole life, and like enjoy it.
Any takeaways from you?
I'm first of all, I'm very happy to be here. I'm new here. I think I will start to see patterns emerge as I'm here more. But like, we're always going to see the corrupting force of trying to be the top guy at anything.
Yeah.
And you watching that happen with someone like Larry is just like, yeah, you kind of see it all coming, and it's like sad and tragic, but also like a little bit funny because he's like kind of awful in a way that's a little bit comedic. It's just all of it's a bummer.
He's also dumb, which makes me feel good. Like,
Do you
he's
think he
so
is?
bad at this. I don't think he's particularly like more genius than anybody else. But I also think that ice cream scoops have been taken out of his brain, which is another term that we say here a lot, because of being surrounded by yes men and being told for his entire life. He was told for most of his life that he was an idiot that couldn't do anything. And then the latter half of his life, he was told he was a genius who could do anything.
That's a great point.
That fucks with your gray matter.
Yeah.
There's no other way around it. It'll be curious to see. I mean, listen, if I was David Ellison, I would make a movie about Larry Ellison, the truth, the unvarnished truth. I think that would be really interesting to see. I mean, the other question too is like, Larry Ellison has like 10 to 15 years good years left.
Yeah.
Assuming he doesn't.
10 to 15 is a lot. That would make him, 96?
95?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, on the Sumner Redstone episode, Sumner Redstone was the chairman of Paramount while he was getting fed from a feeding tube and barely even able, like, he wasn't wiping his own ass.
These guys almost don't die. Like Rupert Murdoch or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, like, people are like, whatever, crossing their fingers over Trump. It's like, he's gonna live to be 200.
Well, because what happens is similar to kind of the Joe Biden situation, where you had a staff of thousands, second and third order people who really wanted to keep their jobs.
Yeah.
And they were like, I want to keep my job for 4 more years. So if it's a matter of the CEO having to be, propped up,
Sure. We'll find a way.
where you get into Bernie style,
Totally.
we will find a way because we want to keep our jobs, because I want to stay on this gravy train. So there's a lot of people who benefit from Larry Ellison.
Larry Ellison. Okay, but
Being
David
who
Ellison.
he is.
Weekend at Bernie's about Larry Ellison.
Yeah.
Think about it. People love that movie. Now it's about you and your dad, but still a fun 80s romp. Think about it.
There's a lot of good ideas. So yeah, hey, Robby, I'm so happy you're here. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode, and we have obviously many more to come with Robby. I'm so happy that you're, so enthusiastically joining us over here.
I'm so happy to be here. And yeah, if you liked it, let me know. And if you didn't like it, don't, don't. I will try to find the sweet spot though.
Please join us over on Patreon, where you will get 2 bonus episodes every month and then some additional bonus content. You can join at the Skilling Sweeties level, which is $5 a month, and you get those 2 bonus episodes. You can join at the Murdoch's Mates level, where you get to join the book club, and you also get the Gossipers Only chat and the book club chat, which is really fun. Or you can join at the SBF Sugar Daddies level, where you will get a shout out on every episode, and we're going to do that now. I'd love to give you the honors.
Okay. All right, here we go. I feel bad if any of those people are like, I can't wait to hear Becca say my name. And now they're getting me. But
they're going to get the Robby flair. Let's hear it.
Here it comes. All right, here we go. Here's the list of people. We got Sarah, with no H. Then we got a Sarah Gilbert. She's got an H. Kelly Jade, 2 first names. I like it. Nora, shout out to you. Anastasia B, maybe Anastasia. Either way, B period. Very classy ending. Sarah Burtis, professional. I actually can. It's even a LinkedIn type of headshot on it. Sarah I could work for a Sarah Burtis, I think. And finally, Mr. Michael Anderson. That's the gang.
Wow, Robby, I got to say you did it better than we ever could. All right, well, we will see you guys on the Patreon next week. And there's so many exciting new things coming to the podcast this year. I'm so excited to reveal them all, to be revealed. Thank you guys for joining us another week on Corporate Gossip Podcast. We love you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye. Good news correspondent Elizabeth Liu is on spring break this week, and I hope she's having so much fun. So I brought in a special guest for this week's special segment at the end of the podcast. Actually, a friend from mine from college went super viral recently with her Instagram account called Cut Off the Spigot. Her name is Alexa Speed, and what she does is genius. She does a ton of research to find alternatives to badly behaving companies like big corporations and private equity firms. The one she went really viral for was a whole investigation she did about alternatives to Spotify. But I asked Alexa, I was like, okay, if we don't want to use Paramount, if we don't want to use HBO Max or whatever the hell freaking these two goons are going to be coming up with, what can we do? She was kind enough to put together all of her research, which I will link in the show notes, and put together a little list of recommendations for all different types of streaming services, whether it's television shows or documentaries or content for kids. And if you want more from Cut Off the Spigot, of course, you can check out the link in the show notes, or you can follow her on basically every social media there is, including Upscrolled, which is the TikTok alternative, which I haven't even joined yet, but she's already got 24,000 followers over there. I need to follow her over there. Anyway, follow Cut Off the Spigot for more from Alexa. You can click the link in our show notes.
Hello everyone, it's Alexa Speed from Cut Off the Spigot. Despite what it may feel like, there are actually a ton of great streaming options you can feel good about using. Let's start with free options. Did you know that you can stream TV shows and movies for free with no ads through your local library? Depending on who your library partners with, you can use Hoopla, Canopy, or My Film Friend. Hoopla tends to have a pretty broad selection, while Canopy is more focused on critically acclaimed movies, documentaries, and foreign films. But maybe you need some comedy to get through these dark times. I recommend Dropout. They have original comedic TV shows and specials that are some of the best stuff out there right now. I am personally a huge Dropout fan, not just because of their content, but also their company ethics. Dropout pays for auditions and profit shares with everyone, including talent, crew, employees, even their cleaning lady gets a piece. Another great comedy option is Second Try. If you're familiar with the Try Guys, Second Try is their streaming service featuring new series like Killer Dinner and Trolley Problems and old favorites. You can also watch comedy specials like Call Them Mother from Cameron Esposito. A lot of people don't know this, but PBS actually has a streaming service called PBS Passport. It's $5 a month, though that can vary slightly based on your local station, and you get all sorts of amazing content while supporting public media. I personally love their international crime dramas like Astrid and Munch, and cooking shows like America's Test Kitchen. But if you want to nerd out on science, they have classic PBS shows like Nova and other nature shows and documentaries. Another great place to get science and nature content is CuriosityStream. Started by the Discovery Channel founder in 2015, CuriosityStream has science, nature, and history documentaries, originals, and programming from partners like the BBC. CuriosityStream is also a minority investor in Nebula. Nebula is a streaming service that focuses on independent creator content across a wide variety of subjects. They have comedy shows like Abolish Everything, news content like Legal Eagle, culture series, and science shows. The best part is, Nebula is majority owned by creators. It's a great way to support independent content in a world where only the biggest stars are making any money on YouTube and indie shows and movies aren't getting picked up by big studios. But what about kids shows? There are tons of free kid-focused platforms for streaming. PBS Kids is a great option. It is actually free. You don't have to pay the subscription fee in Amazon Prime. Kidoodle TV has popular shows like Paw Patrol Pup Tales and movies for ages 0 to 12. Happy Kids has regular kid shows and movies, as well as songs, stories, and educational vlogs, DIY projects, and gaming videos. Sensical is an education-focused kid streaming platform. They evaluate their content on a childhood development rubric developed in partnership with Harvard. And finally, Scholastic TV launched their own streaming service last September with both new content and classics like The Magic School Bus. Wrapping it all up, here's a quick overview of some other streaming services you might enjoy. Reverie is a free streaming service focused on queer content that is founded and owned by a diverse group of queer people. Viki, V-I-K-I, is another free streaming service with shows from South Korea, China, Japan, and other Asian countries. If you love K-dramas, Viki is definitely for you. Quali TV is a Black woman-founded and owned streaming service with movies, TV shows, anime, and documentaries that celebrate Black stories and amplify Black creators' voices from around the world. Watermelon Plus is a streaming service from Watermelon Pictures focused on uplifting and sharing Palestinian stories and perspectives, as well as from other marginalized groups. Their movie, The Voice of Hind Rajab, was nominated for an Oscar this year. And finally, if you're a little weirdo like me and love Adult Swim, you might like Eternal Family. They have new shorts and content, including animation, but also focus on preserving unique and rare media. Lastly, there is also physical media. Thrift stores, estate sales, yard sales, and independent shops all have DVDs and players if you want to go analog. Find all these alternatives and more on my website, cutoffthespigot.com, and you can follow me on social media at cutoffthespigot.